Hey you guys, so this is Panzer Leash Manners video number 1. I think there are just going to be 2 videos. But what I wanted to do with this first video was give you a general explanation of how we create a protocol with him for your normal walks. Now I'm talking about building habit and building a way of walking that becomes habit, that just becomes the norm for both you and him. So that when you encounter triggers that might get him overexcited, you and he, but especially you, are better equipped to move through it peacefully, okay? So I want you to free yourself of the question, what do I do when he goes nuts? The real thing that we want to focus on is making sure that we create an environment on leash where he is less apt to escalate as high. And you are more empowered to move him through it, okay? So don't be thinking so much about the symptom as the cause. And the cause is that his brain is overexcited pretty much all the time because of his anxiety. His brain is overexcited, and of equal importance, his brain is not as connected to you at times when it needs to be. So the first thing that I want you to know is he is on the power loop, which means he's on a leash. I showed this to Doug. I don't think I got to show it to Rachel. But it's like a gentle leader. In other words, there is a loop around his snout that creates a kind of a bridle effect. So he has this loop around his snout. It connects at the back of his neck. I'll show you this when we see each other. But the idea here is that when we need to communicate with the dog's brain, if the dog is on a harness, that is the strongest, least sensitive part of his body, and also an area of his body that is distant from the brain. If he gets excited and he feels pressure on it, that pressure on a dog's chest or upper body or torso, I don't care if it's pulling sideways or backwards, if he feels pressure of any sort, it triggers more pull and the brain gets more excited. So harness, not a good idea for him. Now, we could put him on a regular collar or a collar of some kind where we are communicating up here. That's a good idea because the neck tends to be an area of communication for dogs normally. Think about mothers and puppies and things like that. Also, the neck is closer to the brain. So collar, better option than, regular collar, better option than a harness. But because he's such a puller, if he starts pulling and getting crazy, he puts pressure on his trachea. That's not healthy, and it slows airflow, which excites the brain. So this option, how you doing? This option actually goes around his neck. It doesn't put pressure on the trachea, connects up here, and it connects to his snout. So we're not pulling the snout. It's not, a gentle leader actually pulls the snout left and right. What we have is if I put pressure on his neck, it moves his whole head. So I am, what I think, in an optimum situation with a dog like Panzer, where I'm communicating with his whole, not just his neck, but his head. I am right up here in the brain zone, right? So I'll show you more about this exact tool, but I wanted you to know that's what he's wearing. So what we're gonna do, and you will see this in the next video in practice, but we're going to create a process where you have 2 gears. One gear is the break, which means he gets to be at the full length of the leash. Now this leash is not terribly long, and that's a good thing, because the further out a dog gets, the less control and connection you have. Also, a dog who is out front feels pressure to be in charge, to assess threat, to warn you about threat, to try to scare threat off. So when a trigger comes near, you're going to want him to be close to you, which brings me to the second gear. He's out here in break. When he's in break, that's when he gets to sniff and pee and poop and explore and whatnot. That's prey drive. He gets to do that as long as he doesn't pull. But we're going to have gear 2 that we move him in and out of randomly, and that is here. Not heel, because heel, in my mind, is so rigid that you would spend so much time working on getting him in the exact position, it would defeat the purpose. So here means come close to me and get in my bubble. When we do here, we slide up the leash and we make it short. Come here, buddy, move for me. There you go. So you can see when we're standing up, he's in here, I'm holding the leash shorter, which gives me more control and brings him into my bubble. So he's in here, now he's in pack drive, which calms his brain. So we have the here position, and then we randomly say break, and we let him have the full leash. And then we randomly can put, hey, how you doing? We randomly put him back into here, and then randomly back into break. So in the course of a normal walk where no challenges are presenting themselves, you're just moving him in and out casually so that he becomes so used to you moving him into here that he doesn't think anything about it when you need for him to be there. So rather than it being an emergency adjustment when you see a trigger, it's just a part of his normal walk. Sometimes he's in break, sometimes he's in here. But whenever you sense that there could be overexcitement or trigger, you will always just casually here and move him close. So you'll see that on another video later, and we'll actually have him pass by a dog or two on video so you can see how that works. But this video, what I wanted to show you was just a really quick and easy pre-walk routine. How is he going to learn what here means? He sees a dog, one of my dogs. How is he going to learn what that means? Well, partly because you're going to practice it on the walk. Break, here, but also you can do this here exercise that helps to get his head in the game. It's called box work. And what that means is you put yourself in either a literally visual box or an imaginary box. In my case, I have lines, I have seams on my driveway that create more of a rectangle, but good enough. So if I walk along here, I don't know if you can see it the whole way, but I have actual lines that create a box. So what you're gonna see me do is, first of all, short leash, because I'm gonna practice here. I hold the short leash and I'm gonna plant it on my hip. The reason I'm gonna plant it on my hip is because if my arm starts flailing, he starts getting the little random tugs and pops on the leash that give him inconsistent messages. So I am going to plant my hip. Now, when we do box work, we don't talk to him, we don't turn and look at him and negotiate, we just keep on moving. So every time as I start walking in a circular fashion in this box, every time I get to a corner, I kind of turn, and every time I do, I say here. So he feels a little pressure here, here, here. And you're gonna see me do it where he's on the outside and then when he's on the inside. So bear with me. But this is something that you would do for like 30 seconds right before you go out on a walk. So here we go. Here, 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 here. So even if he gets a little janky and he starts crisscrossing, I don't stop and correct him or fix his position. I just keep my hand on my hip. The shorter leash will do the work. Now that was an example of him being on the outside of me. When he's on the outside of me, the pressure he feels is the leash pulling like this. The leash pulling him. Now I'm gonna put him on the inside of me where he's gonna feel a little bit of leash, but he's also gonna feel me stepping into it. Two different kinds of pressure to reinforce what here means. Let me show you. So these are two directions that you would do, and you would just do it, like I said, for like 30 seconds. So I put him on the inside of me, hand on my hip, here, 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 here. Good. So you see, I say the word here 4 times at the corner, each corner of the box when I walk in a circle. He starts feeling my spatial pressure from my body when he's on the inside. When he's on the outside, he feels just the leash pressure. Both of these forms of pressure start helping him understand and reinforce what the here command means. So you do this for maybe 30 seconds. One direction on the outside and then the other direction on the inside. You get his head in the game, your head in the game for that matter. And then off you go on a walk. And you will just casually be in break and then casually slip into here, and it will start becoming the norm for him. So that eventually you see a dog coming or whatever it is that's gonna get him excited. You don't make a big deal out of it. You just say here, you slip him in and you keep on moving. Okay? All right, you'll see this in action later.